the domino effect. And if you were here last time, I told you that it took a solid week for me to report what had happened to me because I was truly like so emotional and traumatized by what happened once I realized that I was injured by my doctor. So what was that week like as I worked on building the courage to make that phone call? It was a terrifying week, where every day I was feeling more and more of the effects of what had been done. And I'm going to get just a little graphic here. So, warning, so I can explain briefly what was happening. I was in a state of confusion and pain and trauma. And so I wasn't thinking I need to call another doctor at this moment. Okay. I wasn't thinking clearly, um, which I immediately should have done because I had what was developing was nerve entrapment, which is, if you've ever had nerve entrapment, it was so painful from my ear all the way down to my fingertips. And I already had an injured elbow. So this was on fire. And eventually I came to find out that I also had CRPS developing throughout my arm and possibly throughout the parts of my body. So I wasn't registering what was happening throughout the rest of my body because this was getting to be so painful. But essentially, I was like a twisting in on myself like this. Um, and later on, it was discovered that even my diaphragm was stuck up in my ribs, and I had to have that pulled down a couple of times. I was having trouble breathing. So things got really twisted to the point that even my toes started to curl. Um, and all of this is just kind of happening in slow motion. So during that first week, things were starting to crumble in that direction. I wasn't reaching out to people. I was kind of just really internal with it. And not just that week, but throughout a lot of the worst parts of my malpractice journey, I just was super depressed and scared. So the fears, I don't know what number we're on. We're on like 4 or 5 or 6, but the next thing that was also happening was fears of what's happening. What am I going to do? For sure, I couldn't work. I couldn't um, I was hoping to get back to work very quickly after my elbow healed. And what was I going to do for money? Um, I was losing abilities one after the other. Um, couldn't leverage my body like I used to when I was just one-armed, but now I was starting to have trouble leveraging the rest of my body to do things for myself. A second stage of denial started setting in where I thought, for sure, once I make this call, Ohio Health is going to jump into action. They're going to take care of this. They're going to make sure no one else gets hurt by the surgeon. They're going to check on me. They're going to want to help me through this. Yeah, so the first week, but truly the first 6 months is just a total state of confusion. So you can imagine just the disarray. All of these thoughts and feelings and extreme amounts of pain and fears, everything is already starting to stack up in that first week. The first week of what's becoming a long-term journey that I don't know, is this going to take me forever? Will I ever get better? Is he going to hurt other people? Dear Ohio Health, I hope you're still listening because you need to listen to what your patients go through when they go home from your care and receive no help from you. This is just the beginning. That's the first week of it. Through that, I finally made that call a week later to report the surgeon. And it was just the beginning of being dismissed by you. let's have a look next at what happens when you start reporting the injuries in the next video. Liz Florentino, survivor on a mission.